how I should start all my videos. So I'm starving and I want breakfast. So I'm gonna make scones. But these scones are going to be, of course, like everything else I make, healthier and with slightly alternative ingredients. Great choice if you're vegan and want to replace your milks, but otherwise we're pretty much just getting rid of stuff in my fridge. So let's start. I got this recipe from Girl Gourmet, and it has 2 cups of unbleached flour, a 1/3 cup of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, chilled, which we're not going to do because that takes work, teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 6 ounces of vanilla yogurt, and 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. So we are going to do first the dry ingredients because we need to go like this and make sure we get it crumbly. What I have here is whole wheat flour, about 2 cups, and then with this we also have a tablespoon of baking powder, and we're going to negate the baking soda. Now, if you ever do want to replace the baking soda with baking powder, just times it by 3, and that's pretty much what you need to be an exact amount for leavening. So with the 1/2 teaspoon, that turns to 1.5 teaspoons, and then we already have about 2 teaspoons, so it puts us a little bit over a tablespoon of baking powder. So that's pretty much about what I did. And then I have in here about the 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then I put the cinnamon in already, so that's about a teaspoon approximately. So we're just gonna dump all of this in and just whisk it a little bit. I'm not gonna do the sugar because I'm not doing regular sugar here. I'm feeling like since I'm not really changing the flour, why don't I just change the sugar to my usuals? But before we do that, we are going to do butter. But I'm not doing butter or butter. I'm actually going to do coconut oil. So I'm gonna do about the 6 tablespoons. So let's mix this. Normally you would do with your hands, but because coconut oil is usually melts at room temperature, you have to be slightly more careful. So I'm just going to use the fork instead to help mix it, and then I'll mix the rest of it with my hands. You just want it coarse, almost like cornmeal, but a little thicker than that. Now we're going to add the yogurt, about 3/4 cup, which is pretty much what I have here. And we're also going to do the sugars. So I'm going to do about, it calls for a 1/3 cup. Basically, brown sugar is just sugar with molasses. I mean, basically brown sugar is what it was supposed to be in the first place, and then we take out all that good stuff and put it back in. Beside the point. So what I'm going to do here to get that similar flavor is I'm going to do about the 1/3 cup, and then we're going to do probably about a teaspoon of molasses to give it that flavor that you would get with the brown sugar. And then heavy cream. So let me see, I believe it's supposed to be 3 tablespoons. I'm actually not using heavy cream. I'm using evaporated milk because we happen to have it in the house. Evaporated milk is going to have similar thickness to cream, so I can use it as a replacement. Plus, it has less sugar just like cream does, so that's a positive. And it's cheaper to get than cream, to be honest. So we're gonna mix that together. You just want it to mix until it kind of comes together, the dough. And it's gonna be a little stickier because I didn't use regular, or what would have been, even though sugar is considered a wet ingredient, I didn't really use a wet, it normally doesn't call for a wet ingredient. So I actually added more liquid in the beginning, even though all in all it'll probably still come out to the same amount of volume later on. Because I don't want to mix it too much. You mix it too much, it gets tough. And that's because of the gluten bonds. When you mix a lot, you're encouraging more gluten bonds, which makes it hold together. And that's what you want in general, but then the more it holds, the tougher it gets. So now we're going to put it together on a pan or on a sheet, baking sheet, and we're going to just shape it to the sheet that we want. Okay, so let us mold it. Now, I did say before that you can make this vegan, and the reason I said that is because you don't have eggs, and it's not like you have to find an egg replacement. And in my opinion, that is the hardest thing to replace when you are making anything vegan. However, you would have to obviously replace the milk products. But again, that is easily done with a lot of replacement products that are out there. And now we're going to actually cut these into wedges, So you just gotta place them a little bit farther away. Close enough to keep their shape, but far enough that they actually bake well. And luckily I buttered the baking sheet, or I buttered the aluminum foil, so it shouldn't stick too much. And normally I would add, let's say, nuts or chips or something like that to it, but there's no chips that I really want to add with the cinnamon, and I'm really not feeling nuts with this one. That was a punny joke. So anyway, these are ready to go into the oven for about 14 to 16 minutes. So the oven is at 425. We'll wait for those to be done and we'll have deliciousness. Okay, so I put them in and left them for probably about 16, 17 minutes, and it's only been a little while since they've cooled down. So why don't we have a look? That looks delicious. As you can see, I may have already started a little bit, or maybe it broke off, or maybe a mouse ate it. So let me show you what it looks like, at least on the inside. So as you can see, very fluffy, kind of pushes a little bit, so probably could have used a little more time to bake, a little underbaked, but I could always throw them back into the oven, but let's just try them anyway. So I'm gonna eat the end part, because the end part's probably cooked all the way through, or it really is, because you can tell, because it's a little baked, overbaked on the bottom. Still good. So, very flaky. It ended up working out fine doing the baking powder instead of the baking soda. Let's try with a little bit of butter, because I'm not vegan. I'm gonna do right over this, because the rest of these could use a little butter too. That's my opinion. Everything can use more butter. Good. I will say overall, the flavor is very subtle. Because it's so subtle, you can use things like maybe sweetened cream cheese on it, or you can put honey on it, or maybe a nut butter that's sweetened a little bit. I wouldn't do anything really salty with it, like a really salted butter, because if it's really, really salted, you're probably not gonna get the flavor you want, but overall, I'll go with success. If you want a simple scone that is quick and easy to make, this one's right up your alley. You can easily make it with the kids. You can throw, instead of the honey, you can do regular brown sugar if you want, or you can even throw in different things like cinnamon chips, which I love, or you can do white chocolate chips with these, or even throw in pistachios or different nuts. It's a really basic scone recipe. You can easily add whatever you want into it to just make it yours, because it's just cinnamon. So, and cinnamon works well with everything. So, especially since it's good for you because it helps calm down and keep steady your blood sugar levels. I'm gonna keep telling myself that's the reason why I should eat more of it. So yeah, 2 cups flour, 1 tablespoon and half teaspoon of baking powder, half teaspoon salt, 1/3 cup of honey, 6 tablespoons of coconut oil that you want hardened, so probably put in the fridge for a little while so you can make that mix. Then you put about a tablespoon of molasses, or you can just replace the honey and the molasses with a 1/3 cup of brown sugar, 3/4 cup of yogurt, 3 tablespoons of cream, heavy cream, or like I did, evaporated milk. And then if you want to really bring out that sugar flavor, I would definitely suggest maybe putting about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I didn't do that. I wish I would have. Oh well, so definitely try it. Simple, tasty, easy. Maybe cook it for a little bit longer, especially if you're replacing some of those ingredients I replaced, especially with the sugars. So yeah, try it out. See how you like it. I'll catch you next time.